James Sutherland, Chairman of the Live Entertainment Industry Forum. Thanks so much for your time. This industry is worth billions to the economy, isn't it? We were told One Day International a couple of months ago was cancelled. It cost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the impact since middle of March, really, when the industry was brought to its knees, has been absolutely huge. And there's a huge, I guess, economic accelerator around the industry into travel and tourism and the hospitality industry as well. So when there are events on, the economy's thriving and lots of people are employed. I think something like 175,000 in the industry, and so many of them are basically out of work at the moment.
So, James, how do you grapple with this, the fact that live entertainment, whether it be music or the sporting venues that you represent as part of this forum, they were the first to close and most likely near the last to reopen? How do you grapple with that?
I think we've really got to approach it in a methodical sort of way. Understand that whilst we can perhaps get our events underway, we've seen NRL started, AFL's coming back soon. The way we graduate crowds is going to be a slow process, but it's up to us to find ways to build confidence within government and also amongst the fans that we're creating a COVID-safe environment and that there won't be any outbreaks as a result of the gatherings that we hold.
Yeah, so much of it seems to me to be about confidence, given where, in this period has been unusual. People have changed their consumer habits, changed their working habits. I guess your aim is to make sure they don't change their entertainment habits, and the fact that they, Australians traditionally love live sport.
Yeah, and I mean, the pleasing thing is our research is telling us that something like 80% of fans of live entertainment are ready to come back. We can understand that for others there may be a little bit of trepidation, but that's, again, the ball's in our court to make a difference there, to build the confidence and to get back. We open the doors, we get the events back on, and we get people back at work, and that's a great result for the industry.
Yeah, and on that work front, I guess the message to the policymakers is that, as you touched on earlier, that spin-off effect, the amount of employment, say, for one event that coalesces around that event.
Yeah, the pleasing thing is we know and understand that government is now trying to, revert its focus to industry getting back to some sort of normality. But at the same time, there's this sort of overlaying cloud around the virus, and we absolutely understand and respect that we'll need to work closely with the health authorities in the various states and territories to convince them that we've got a plan and I guess operating principles that lead to a COVID-safe environment.
I guess, James, one of the challenges is that the health officials have been saying that some of the big outbreaks internationally have been in sporting stadium. Is the challenge to placate them and say, well, we've got world-leading venues more broadly, we can have world-leading venues when it comes to health and sanitising, cleaning and so on?
Yeah, look, I think we totally understand there's an element of risk around mass gatherings, and particularly, there's a risk of an outbreak. We're actually drawing a lot of comfort from the progress that's been made in New Zealand. Obviously, that country's a little bit ahead of us in containing the virus, but by opening things up in New Zealand, they seem to be fast-tracking the return of live events, live entertainment and indeed sporting events. And they're coming back online in the course of the next week or so with limited restrictions. And so if we can continue down the path we're going in containing the virus, we're optimistic that we'll get a favourable hearing from the health authorities and be able to work with them, get the feedback and introduce the right standards and protocols within our venues.
So, James Sutherland, what sort of timeline are you looking at before you hope to get some substantial crowd numbers back?
I think substantial's a key word there. We're looking to get crowds back sooner rather than later. We think there's some promising signs about introducing slowly. I think sport will probably pave the way for other types of events, The nature of the business model around sport is that there's media rights associated with those events, and therefore attendances are, whilst they're important, they're not quite as important. But for other types of entertainment, music, concerts and obviously theatre, it's very important that we get crowds back in and we get big crowds into those venues. So that again is about working on the protocols and getting some minimum standards in place, but at the same time working with the health authorities, and hopefully the country continues to make the significant progress it is in reducing the number of people with the virus.
And finally, James Sutherland, this organisation, this forum that you're representing is across the board, isn't it? In part, you've got competitors in the industry working together to get it back up on its feet.
Well, I think that's the sort of the remarkable thing is that that everyone's come together. The industry is basically on its knees, and I think competitors and people that haven't necessarily worked together before have realised that the best way through this is to work together. And to what I've experienced over the course of the last couple of weeks, there's a real fierce resolve to find ways to work through, to share information, to get groups of people together, the best practice leaders in the industry to get together and find a result that sees crowds back. That's great for the Australian public, but it's also great for those that are employed by the industry.
Live Entertainment Industry Forum Chairman James Sutherland, I appreciate your time. Thanks.